Yeah, I try to like have it off to the side so I don't even have to think about it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So, what's your name first
Bill.
of all? Bill. I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Yeah. So so you're saying you don't have real solid beliefs, but
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I've stuck more or less to the same moral system.
Mhm.
Like I've subscribed to the majority of the morals that I grew up with. However, it's not. I would say I'm agnostic, but
Mhm.
that's because I can't. I also, I guess once you have a good moral system set,
yeah,
the question of whether or not there is a God doesn't really factor into my day-to-day life anymore. I
Yeah.
still like act as though there were, you could say.
yeah,
I try to be a good person overall, but wondering whether or not someone is judging my actions other than myself or the people around me.
Right.
I'm not really worried about.
because you do have good morals and
I would
you're
say that's
acting
part
in
of
a
it.
way that's it's
It
like
falls in line with what I was brought up.
yeah. So what is your religious background?
I was raised Roman Catholic.
Okay, and would you say you believe in God or
No,
at this point
no,
any kind of a existence or spiritual existence?
not really.
Yeah,
That's just me personally. I
Oh,
don't
sure.
try to
Yeah.
push it on anybody.
yeah. And was there ever a time when you did?
Oh yeah, when I was much younger. But then I started taking philosophy classes, and then I think that was when I was just like, does it actually have an effect on how I live my life? Or you know what I mean? Like I started
Yeah.
looking at the broader picture, and I was like, it doesn't. At least what I was gathering from some of the discussions we were having is that it
Yeah.
wasn't going to make a difference one way or the other.
So kind of like when you, in college? You're
Oh,
in
no, this was
college?
high school.
High school? High school philosophy class?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a Catholic high school? Or?
No.
Oh,
I did study,
Interesting.
I did go to Ignatius my freshman year, and I took a world religions class, and I wouldn't say that was the beginning of, but it was interesting to see all the different,
yeah.
like we studied Shintoism, Zoroastrianism, Jainism, all the different major religions that have Buddhism,
Yeah.
Hinduism,
Yeah.
Shintoism.
So this, so the idea of that, I think the two go hand in hand. What happens after this life, and is there a God?
I would say that's
Um,
correct, but once I started to think about it doesn't affect my day-to-day life whether or not there is a God, or at least that's my,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling anybody that they
Oh no, yeah,
I just stopped wondering what happened after
Yeah.
death, and
and the reason I asked if like you still have the morals, if you're a moral person and you die and you find out that God is there and actually does judge us according to a moral standard,
Yeah.
would it be safe to say that you'd probably be okay, other than the idea of not believing strongly in God?
I would think I would like to think that I'm doing
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, because what I'm finding as a pattern of talking to different people, not saying anyone have to fit in the pattern, but if it's not broken, don't fix it. In other words, if you think that you, like you say, like if you've got your day-to-day life figured out as far as how to be a moral person, then why worry whether God exists or not?
I guess
if it's possible that there is a eternal punishment or some kind of a repercussion after we die,
Yeah.
and so then it would be important to figure that out. See what I'm saying?
Sure, but
Now, nobody likes to be scared into a relationship with God.
yeah, I mean that was one of the philosophers that we studied in high school specifically. It was one of the popes. He tried to say, or I don't think it was a pope, but a philosopher said, I'm going to believe in God because it's safer to believe in God than to not believe in
Yeah.
God. And I
Was
didn't
it
think
Pascal?
that. I don't
There's
recall.
something called Pascal's Wager, and
That might
it's
be
kind of
it.
like a bet, like
Yeah.
I want to place my
He's hedging his bets by believing it.
yeah.
I believe that's what it was, effectively, and I didn't find that a convincing enough argument to...
Yeah.
I mean, I understand exactly where he's coming from, but whether or not that makes me want to believe in God, like, I almost feel like that's a negative, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Because
Yeah.
kind of a cop-out in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I for many years, believed, it seems like some people need to believe that there's a God that's going to hold them accountable in order to be a good person, because they're kind of motivated by that fear, you know. I kind of felt like I was above that, like, well, because I do believe in God, and I do want to be a good person, but I felt like, why do I? Because I love God so much, and He loves me, and I don't need fear, you know. And so in a way, I was kind of like looking down my nose at people who operate out of fear.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, there was also a lot of like change within my church at the same time, which I saw it as I did not agree with
in your
it.
particular local church.
Yes, the church that I had been going to since I was born, basically. There was a lot of political change within it, and I really didn't agree with where it was going. And I think that was one of the things that kind of pushed me in that direction.
Oh, okay.
And like I was going to church every week and things of that nature, but they started. They were in financial trouble, and like instead of actual like sermons, it was more like we need more money.
Yeah.
And that
happens a lot.
Well, I'm sure it does. But it doesn't.
Buildings are expensive.
Yeah,
and everything else.
Certainly understand.
So come to bingo.
Well, yeah, but yeah, having commercials instead of actual programming is.
Yeah. So do you feel like you have a good understanding of what the Bible teaches? You know, like you
overall,
probably went through catechism, right?
Yeah. Confirmation.
Confirmation. Yeah. So you were confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah, as a Catholic.
I was also much younger. I was like 12 or something. So
yeah.
I'm quite a bit further along in life now. I have more.
Right. Do you mind if I give you a little good person test just to see? Because here's the thing. Jesus said, wide is the road that leads to punishment, and many are on it. And narrow is the road that leads to eternal life, and few are on it.
Okay.
And so it's like, in my experience talking to people, most people think they're going to heaven. You know, like not that they believe in heaven, but if there is such a place, yeah, I'm going there, you know.
Sure.
Nobody thinks they're perfect, you know, but everyone thinks they're, I guess, above average, which
most people
would like to think
is
mathematically
impossible. Also studying statistics.
Yeah. So I'm from Minnesota, and there's I don't know if you ever heard of Lake Wobegon, Prairie Home Canyon. The tagline is where the women are strong, the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.
Okay.
So that's where I get that from. But so and I don't know if you've ever thought of, you know, like what would be the what should be the moral standard? You know, like you have your ideas of, you know, like when you say that you know you have morals and you're a pretty good person.
Yeah.
Are you comparing yourself to other people, or what
Not
would
necessarily.
be
it's just what I consider, I don't know, being a decent individual, helping people when you can. For example, if I'm at work and I've clocked out, and I'm still there and they ask me to do something, I'll do it, especially if it's not like a long, drawn-out task.
Yeah.
I've done long, drawn-out tasks, but like it's mostly for the good of everybody, and it might even help me out further on down the road to take care of this before I come back the next day or something.
Yeah.
So it's not even necessarily out of personal interest, it's just what's the best for everybody involved.
Yeah. And so just one thing to, you know, like the Bible teaches is that all good things come from God. So, you know, like your energy, your time, your abilities would come from God. If that's true, then God would have every right to expect that you would use them for Him. In other words, He's given them to you. So doing good is expected of us. The Bible actually says if you know the good you ought to do and you don't do it, that too is sin. In other words, we should do good. So a lot of people have the idea that if my good outweighs my bad, you know, I do some things that I shouldn't do, but I do all these good things that I should do.
I don't even try to make up for...
Yeah, I know
that I do things that are wrong, but I would like to think that I don't even have to worry about the bad things that I do, because I tend to be a giving, generous, kind person in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does sound like you're kind of saying, because of this, don't worry about this.
No, I would say that because I do the best that I can to do that I don't tend to even question the negative things that I know that I have done. Like I'm not doing them to make up for the negative.
Yeah, I know that's like, it's not the first thing. It's like, oh man, maybe this will, because a lot of, I think it's not just true of Christianity. A lot of religions, a lot of people are, I believe, going around thinking, if I do enough good, it can outweigh the bad.
Well, there are plenty of people that go to church every week and then, especially politicians.
Yeah.
That's just the quickest, easiest example I can give.
Yeah, but I've done my hour, and now the rest of the week is mine.
Yeah, and I can steal from the poor and give to the rich.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the good side of things, there is that expectation that we will do good. On the bad side, there's the expectation that you know better. We know right from wrong. You have a conscience.
Well, again, going back to philosophy, it can be difficult. It depends on what structures you choose to subscribe to.
Yeah.
So there's the social side or even cultural side of things. Like, this is acceptable within this culture, but not in that one.
Yeah.
So I don't claim to know that what I'm doing is perfect, but I would like to think that I'm at least making a conscious effort to do the best that I can.
Yeah. So, according to the Bible, the standard would be something on a moral line, not cultural rules like you drive on the right side of the street. Moral things like, have you told a lie? So, would you say that you've told lies in your life?
I think everybody has.
Yeah. So
myself included.
What would you be called if you've told lies?
A liar. But
yeah.
I think that's more of a case-by-case thing, personally.
Yeah, like some lies are acceptable?
No, I'm saying case-by-case, like, are you a liar within a certain situation, or are you a habitual liar, a compulsive liar? There's different, I don't believe I've lied to you at all during this conversation.
Right.
Sure, I have lied over the course of my life, but are you going to call me a liar in this situation? Probably not.
Yeah, because just, and I'm just telling you, the biblical view of it.
No, I understand.
It would be that if you, even the first sin, Adam and Eve, right? Mm-hmm. They break God's rule, don't eat from this tree, and it leads to total chaos, right? Mm-hmm. The whole fall of man, right? It's because they knew what they should do or what they shouldn't do, and they did it anyway. They kind of took the law in their own hands. And so if we know it's wrong to lie and yet we do lie, we're basically saying, well, I think I'm the exception to the rule, or I think I should be able to set my own rules, and I don't have to follow. But if those are God-given commandments, and we do have a God-given conscience, then we're actually it's kind of in the same category as eating from the forbidden tree. God said don't do it, and we do it. Well, so I'll be first to tell you I've lied, and I'm a liar. And I had to get to the point where I accept, I accept it like it's okay, but I just realized I've acknowledged it, and it's like, I don't want to lie, because it's wrong, but I have lied, and when I did lie, I knew it was wrong,
Well, are you saying that you would still be a liar even if you haven't lied in
so like if I
X amount of time?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to paint God, the God of the Bible. God is, as this policeman in heaven, that's looking down and kind of keeping a tally. Because if God is more than a person, if he's this supreme knowledge, this supreme being that has all knowledge, omniscient and omnipresent and omni everything, when he looks at us, he can't avoid the fact that we've, he can't look at us without.
Well, he'd also know that we're not perfect either, too.
Well, exactly, yeah. And so it's not like God is a person furiously, working hard to keep track.
Yeah.
It's more like this is just what is. And when he looks at us, he would see, he would remember the lies I've told that I long since forgot.
Or you might not have even realized you were lying at the time. Kind of with Peter and how he denied Jesus 3 times. He didn't realize he was doing it until
he thought later. Yeah. and then there's, we try to like excuse lying for like just white lies or whatever. But
Did it further going good? Yeah.
Yeah,
I get
and but part of that is like, if we're able to say little lies, it's relationship destroying. It's people can't trust us with the little things, so then they realize we'll probably tell bigger lies too. So I instead of comparing myself to other people and thinking, well, I lie, but I don't lie as much as that compulsive liar there. It's more like, okay, well, maybe he didn't have the kind of upbringing I had, but I know it's wrong to lie, and I've still told lies, So, have you ever taken anything that didn't belong to you?
Sure.
Okay, so you would be a
thief.
Like a thief.
Yeah.
You ever use God's name in vain? Whether, I guess, if you don't believe...
I certainly haven't been doing it since I kind of, because I don't...
Because you don't believe in God.
Yeah, it doesn't...
it's not your go-to.
Well, here's another, like, around the time that I realized that I stopped believing in God, that was when my mom decided that we were all going to start saying prayer and cross ourselves before every meal, and I just sit there quietly with my hands folded. I don't cross myself, I don't do anything like that, because
I actually think that's more respectful than being honest,
I'm not going out of my way to be like, hey guys, I'm not agreeing with this whole thing, but
right.
I try to be respectful of them, give them their time to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I am grateful for the food that I get to eat, but at the same time,
but
I'm not going to...
Yeah.
Just grateful.
And I'm just giving you a couple examples, a couple more. One says, we shall not murder. But then Jesus, in his Sermon on the Mount, expanded on kind of the spirit of the law and said, it's wrong to murder, but if you have anger in your heart towards your brother and you call him a fool, you're in danger of a fire hell. So basically, if we kill someone with our hands and cause physical harm, that's wrong. But we shouldn't even hurt people with our words. So I'm guilty of that. Thinking you would be guilty. Have you ever used your words?
I've been,
destructively, I guess. And then one more, it says you should not commit adultery. Sex outside of marriage. But then Jesus says, but I say, even if you look at a woman in order to have these lustful thoughts, you're committing adultery in your heart. Yeah. So if you were to die, Bill, and stand before God, and it is Judgment Day, and you do realize, okay, now there is a God. It's not so much you didn't believe in me, but you knew it was wrong to lie and steal. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would you be guilty or innocent standing before God?
Well, I'd be guilty, but I still, again, I think, like we said, like I'd mentioned earlier, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there would be any sort of... It's hard to... I feel like I'd get enough leeway.
Yeah.
Because I don't go out of my... Like, I go out of my way to do effectively what you're saying and avoid those actions.
I appreciate your standing out in the rain here.
It's okay.
Right? Okay. Yeah, the idea that everybody does it...
That's not what I'm trying to... I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say that if you were to be that strict about things, everyone would be going to hell.
Yes. And that's kind of the point. Is
or
the law...
Not to heaven.
The Bible actually says the law was put in place to lead us to Christ. In other words, it wasn't put in place for us to save ourselves by following it.
No, I understand.
Because we've already broken it. Mm-hmm. So if I repented perfectly, which isn't going to happen, but I never sin again, and I,
which also isn't going to happen.
Which isn't going to happen. But if I was able to do that, I'd still be guilty of the things I already did, knowing that they were wrong. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Totally.
And so repentance can't save me, because I think, pretty sure you would agree, if God is a good God, if there is a God and he's good, he would love people, but he would also love justice. In other words, there must be a consequence for the crime.
To some degree, sure.
I mean, justice is a good thing. It would be hard to say, okay, God, I believe in a God who just looks at a child molester and just says, forget what you did. And at what point do we stop? You know, maybe I'm not a child molester, but I've told lies. I'm a liar. I'm a thief. I've taken things that didn't belong to me. You know.
Yeah.
At what point do I say, well, I'm above God's? You know, I'm one of the good guys. You know, and so if that's true, we would be guilty.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, regardless of where, like, let's say I'm the exact same as I act the exact same that I normally would, but all of a sudden I believe in God, I don't think that would tip the scale for you.
Yeah.
That's
I think you're
effectively
right.
where I'm at.
Yeah. So, you know, Christianity is about Christ, you know, and I'm not saying Catholicism's under that umbrella. The Bible says he's the son, you know, like he's the point of it all, you know.
Okay.
So it's not you know, like the Bible actually says the devil believes in God. You know, he knows he exists, you know.
Sure.
But it's a matter of who or where do we put our trust. So if you were to suddenly start believing in God and decide, okay, I'm going to be a good person, I'm going to repent, I'm going to say I believe in God, I'm going to go to church, it doesn't take away your guilt, you know, like what
It wouldn't, or no, also wouldn't absolve your sins.
yeah, there's no way to take away our guilt, especially, you know, like if we tried to do enough good, it's like, well, we ought to do good, you know. The guilt is still there. It's like God looks at us and he sees a guilty person, and he believes in justice, so there must be justice, but he loves us, so he wants to have that right.
Yeah,
it's like rock in a hard place, you know. And so that's where Christ comes in, you know, his justice has to be satisfied. There must be a punishment. Kind of like if you're guilty in a human courtroom and guilty of some horrendous crime, and you have this huge fine that you got to pay that you can't afford. The judge's job as a good and righteous judge is to make sure the fine is paid.
Yeah.
You know. Now, if someone comes in as your advocate and says, I'm going to pay Bill's fine for him, then the judge would say, okay, justice is, served. I've done my job. And that's where Christ comes in. It's almost like the judge, God in the role of the judge,
I can see the analogy.
gives the punishment,
but
then he takes off his robe and stands among the people and says, but I'll pay the fine. You know, I'll take the punishment on his behalf in order for justice to be served, but also as a way of expressing my love for Bill, you know, or whoever.
Okay.
And that's what when I became a Christian, that's what I experienced, was understanding that, I can't pay my fine, you know, I'm bankrupt, you know, but Jesus did it for me on the cross. And so if we're putting our trust in being good enough, our trust is not in Jesus or God, it's in ourselves. It's in our own ability to be good. And that's probably the most common thing people do, you know. But if we put our trust in Jesus, then we know we have someone who has paid our fine. Our fine is paid in full. I don't know if you're aware of this, but
even if you, but it goes back to what I was saying, like with politicians or that's just the best example I can come up off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But people that go to church and put on this facade of being a good Christian, but then they go out and they do things that are certainly not within his teachings.
Yeah.
Are you saying that, like, because they believed it, like they might believe that he exists even, but they don't act accordingly? I really
think sitting side by side in churches are people who secretly are just trusting in their own pious, I go to church, you know.
I don't think that's everybody either. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying
there's enough there, though.
Are you making the argument that if you believe in Jesus, or that
Well, I'll just tell you my experience is that once, and I can't even say like once I decided to believe in Jesus, it was more something that happened to me.
Yeah, I understand.
But once I began to believe in Jesus, it was like, okay, now how can I can't pay for what, you know, like he already paid for my sins. I can't work it off. He never told me I have to earn it.
Yeah.
How can I thank him? you know. And so the Bible talks about the Holy Spirit living in us, and we're given this desire to want to respond with gratitude. So I wouldn't do good things to earn heaven. It's more like Jesus earned heaven for me. I want to do good things to thank him and to show him that I love him, you know.
I do it mostly because it works for me.
It's the right thing to do.
Well, it works for me. I mean, like, people definitely, if I'm in a tough spot, plenty of people will help me out.
Yeah.
Because I've helped them out in the past. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not even so that they'll do that. That's not why I do it. I don't do it for a reward or the acknowledgement or friendship or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do it because it...
The Bible is about relationship.
Sure.
A relationship lost ultimately way back in Genesis, and also lost in our lives when we sin. The last thing we want is God in our, like, it's like, I just did what I know I shouldn't do. I'm either going to deny God exists, or I'm going to just not have anything to do with him, or go as far. Because like Adam and Eve, their first reaction was, let's go hide. We're naked. God sees us. We can't hide what we've done from him.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And that relationship that they had was broken. And so the Bible is all about God pursuing man instead of us pursuing him pursuing us, to the point where he shows us that the only thing that will save us is him taking the punishment in our place. Because you've got generations and generations of Israelites, trying to follow God, and then they go their own way, and then they serve idols. Whatever happens in the Old Testament doesn't ultimately work.
Yeah.
And you've got all these predictions that there's going to be a Messiah who's going to come and restore that relationship,
Yeah.
And so I see the Bible as God restoring our relationship with himself.
See the New Testament.
Well, yeah. I mean, I see the whole narrative of, like Old Testament, and there's
not specifically
prophecies that come true in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess I'm just trying to say it's not about like legalistic religion or follow these rules or believe this certain creed. It's more like all other religions of the world. It's like, if you do these good things, all the teachers taught you can be enlightened or have heaven or have nirvana or whatever it is by doing these things. And Jesus comes along and he says, I am the life, not do this and you will have life. It's I am the way, the truth, and the life, like he's pointing to himself.
Yeah.
And if he's just a person, or just like a religious teacher, like who is he to, like draw all people to himself? But if he's actually who he said he was,
Yeah.
And if it's actually the God that died in our place, then he deserves our devotion,
Yeah.
So we kind of have a dilemma. It's like, if Jesus is not telling the truth about his divinity, and
Sure. Yeah.
he's either a liar, who we shouldn't trust, or a fool, a crazy person who we shouldn't trust.
Yeah.
Or if he's actually the Lord God, then we should totally trust him.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying Jesus is just kind of the center of Christianity.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I'd encourage you to, maybe revisit.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I can understand why you would.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I have been honest, but to be frank, I guess, is to say, I would. I don't believe that. Like, my goal when I go out and have these conversations is not to convert people to Christianity in one conversation.
Yeah.
But I would hope that this would be helpful, and eventually I would love for you to be a Christian one day. It's to me it's only natural, to want for other people what like if I find a treasure and there's way more than I have for myself. Why wouldn't I want to share that?
Totally. I understand what you're saying.
So So I do like to have these kind of conversations and just try to encourage people to maybe reconsider. And
That's fair.
If that's a possibility, I would love that.
I mean, you're following through on your beliefs, and
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I appreciate that.
What was your name? I gotta
Jeff.
get going. Jeff,
Yeah,
nice
thank
to
you
meet
for your more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was like, I should probably get going. It's okay.
Hey, I'm gonna give you my card.
All right.
This is where I will post the video.
Okay.
I told you this why I do these, right?
Yep.
To show other people, and then this is my number. Would love to talk more.
All right.
So,
Thanks,
all right,
man.
all right. Thanks, Bill.